Good evening. I am Paula Fontana, Vice President of Strategic Programming Initiatives with the National Black MBA Association. Thank you so much for joining us this evening for Where Do I Fit In? Sponsored by CBRE. So the mission of the National Black MBA Association is to lead in the creation of educational, wealth building, and growth opportunities for Blacks throughout all stages of their careers as students, professionals, and entrepreneurs. And we can only accomplish that mission in partnership with organizations such as CBRE that take the time to engage with our members to provide that pathway to opportunity. So our moderator for this evening is Dr. Ryan Mitchell, an inclusion professional, a speaker, a coach, and talent development consultant who has a mind for business and a heart for people. So having successfully led teams in finance, healthcare, and nonprofit commercial real estate organizations, he brings a unique mix of practical experience and professional research. His areas of expertise include virtual teaming, diversity and inclusion, and leadership development. And he uses all of these skills while serving as Global Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion at CBRE. He is responsible for advisory and real estate investments line of business. So you will hear a short video about this incredible organization, and afterwards you will hear the voice of Dr. Ryan Mitchell as well as the CBRE team. Have a listen.
More than steel and glass, more than square footage and four walls, more than facilities and floor plans. Today, more than ever, we see more. We see dimensions others can't from perspectives others don't. More productivity, flexibility, and employee well-being. Opportunity to invest in the future. Potential in every business, in every space, in every person. Insights that transform, because the more perspectives we have, the more dimensions we see.
Good evening and welcome to each of you. As Paula mentioned, I'm Ryan Mitchell, and I first of all have to thank you, Paula, for such a gracious introduction as well. So I lead diversity, equity, and inclusion at CBRE, and I represent advisory and transaction sides of the business, as well as real estate investments. I'm so glad that we have the privilege to address you today, and I'll be serving as your moderator and host. So what are we talking about today? Today, we have an action-packed agenda with two dynamic sets of individuals that we will get to speak with, as well as an amazing recruiter, MK, who's going to speak with us here. Now, our team is excited to share with you various insights about their career journeys in commercial real estate, as well as the overall industry as well. So today's panelists include, and some of them may be joining us as we go, since our day is kind of ending. So we have Jojo Lewis, a transaction specialist, Carlton Orange, who's an associate here, Pasquale Ventura, an associate project manager. We have MK. So MK is going to be talking to us about some talent acquisition, leadership skills that we need to have, as well as how to get involved here with us in CBRE. We have Tanya Brandon, who will be joining us as a senior manager, managing director within our Global Workplace Solutions. And then we have Adam Weirs, our chief operating officer of the Trammell Crow Company. Now, a little bit of housekeeping before we get started with our discussions today. We want to hear from you. So throughout our discussions, we're going to be monitoring the chat. And so we prepared some questions for our various panelists, but we would love to hear your questions as well. So please, if you could, place your email address in the chat along with your questions. And that way, if for whatever reason we have to follow up with you, we definitely can do so later as well. Our team will be monitoring these as we go. Now, I also want to tell you that it's important that you join our talent community as well. CBRE is looking for professionals just like you. So if you look in the chat at some point throughout our discussion today, you're going to be able to click a link and join our talent community. We will also highlight a few of the many jobs that we have out here. So you'll also see some of those job postings. So if we could, let's just go ahead and get started. Our first conversation is going to be with Adam Weirs, and we're going to be talking to him about his overall career journey and what he does as well. And if Tanya joins us, then she can join us as well in this conversation. So Adam, are you out there?
Yes, sir, I am here, and it looks like Tanya has just joined as well.
Oh, Tanya, you're here also. Thank you so much for being here. Now, Tanya and Brandon, if you could introduce yourselves, just give us a little bit of a quick highlight about your career, what you do and where you do it. So we'll start with you, Tanya.
Yes, thank you for having me. I'm Tanya Brandon. I've been with CBRE for almost 22 years by way of Trammell Crow Company before they were acquired by CBRE in 2006. I started my career in project management. I then moved into the field of facilities management. I've had stints with supply chain, with compliance and governance. I now lead one of our large global financial services relationships. I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina, and my client responsibilities span across 23 countries. I have a team of nearly 500 professionals. We provide integrated facility services, project management services, host, which for us is workplace experiences. And we also provide engineering design. Really excited to be here with this team and professionals and those of you who are interested in the field of commercial and real estate services. I have nearly a 25+ year career across corporate and project and supply chain services. I also lead within our company, our African American Network Group. I sit on our Women's Advisory Board, our Diversity Advisory Council, and also our Global Workplace Solutions DE&I SteerCo group. So glad to be here and look forward to being able to offer many insights and aspirations about how you can be a part of not only commercial real estate, but for us, interestingly enough, we'd love for you to be a part of CBRE.
That is absolutely the truth. And Tanya, you sound like you need a few extra things to do in your spare time.
Yeah, I didn't even talk to you about my personal interest. That really was all about CBRE.
Oh, Adam, can you give us your quick introduction as well, please?
Yes, sir. Happy to do it. Also very happy to be here with you all. Thank you for the invitation and the opportunity. My name is Adam Weirs. I am the Chief Operating Officer, Trammell Crow Company. Actually new to the role. I just took over as COO in April of this year, but I've been with Trammell Crow Company for about 16.5 years. Office in Washington, D.C., have worked in the Mid-Atlantic Development Group since I started with TCC 16 years ago. I came here right out of business school and was new to real estate at the time. So maybe that's an interesting thing that we could talk about at some point. But very pleased to be here. Looking forward to the conversation and to answering some good questions.
Well, thank you very much. And thank you both for being here. Now, Tanya, first questions to you. CBRE has institutional clients that are global workplace solutions services. Now, can you give us a quick overview of GWS so that our audience can understand the services that you all provide?
Yes, absolutely. Well, within GWS, we serve what we call our occupier clients. And if you think about it, those are the clients for which have not only their employees who need to, and for lack of a better description, occupy the facilities, but we look at whether those are owners of the facilities or whether they're leasing those facilities. But for those thousands of employees that need to sit in a facility, or if they need to have a hybrid way of providing a workplace or an experience for their employees, that's the one thing that you often not think about, but to have a business strategy. So you think about needing to run the business. We at CBRE are responsible for how the workplace or that real estate is going to support that business strategy and be the underpin for those occupiers of the facility. So those employees need to have the best manner in which they can come into the facility every day. And if you think about, as we are still working through a pandemic, there are many of our clients who need to show up every day, whether it's a healthcare sector client or a financial services sector client. So I would contend and let you know, I've worked for some financial services clients that are still showing up in the facilities every day, or a manufacturing and industrial clients. If you think about, and I'll call one out, UPS has had to continue to run and ship those packages every day. So it's mattered for how those clients have had to occupy those facilities. So that's what's meant by our global workplace solutions, how they occupy those facilities and ensure that they are operational and safe every day.
Well, thank you. And, we interface with a lot of different occupiers on an everyday basis, and we probably don't even think about it. Like when you go into a strip mall and you go and walk into Target, or whether you're walking into some other of the office facilities as well, and we probably don't even think about it anytime you walk into a Microsoft building to get a computer or things like that. So thank you so much, Tanya, for talking about how CBRE is intimately involved in that process in GWS. Now, Adam, we also hear a lot about development now, but a lot of people don't really understand what development is. Can you break it down and really tell us about the services that Trammell Crow Company provides?
Sure. So Trammell Crow Company is one of the, if not the largest and most successful commercial real estate development platforms in the United States, UK, and Central Europe. So we operate today in 18 major markets across the US, have a significant development platform in the UK, and then also earlier this year actually stood up a logistics development platform in 5 countries in Central Europe. So that's kind of where we operate, Ryan. I didn't answer your question yet. What do we do? So I think maybe the best way to answer that and to get to your services point is to, I guess, describe what development is, at least as we do it. So if I were to describe what we do, I would say that we find and acquire real estate, sometimes land, sometimes buildings. We design, entitle, permit new kinds of real estate, oftentimes different than what we acquired. We construct whatever that new real estate is, and in our platform that is often multifamily, residential, office, industrial, healthcare, and life sciences. It's a broad range. We lease up the real estate that we build, and then ultimately we sell it. So that is an interesting and maybe unique thing about the Trammell Crow Company platform. I would describe us as a merchant developer, meaning that we find, fund, build, lease, and then sell real estate, whereas other people might find, fund, build, lease, and keep real estate, but we're not keepers. But baked into that whole stretch that I just described are a bunch of services. Some of those services we perform in-house as Trammell Crow Company. Some of those services we acquire or hire from third parties, and some of those services we hire our parent company, CBRE. So examples of the services that we would obtain from CBRE would include brokerage services, property management services, even like financial consulting and analysis, Examples of services we would acquire from third parties would be general contracting services to build the actual buildings that we build, design and architecture services, things like that. So it's a mix of, we do some of the services in-house, we acquire from third parties for some of the other things. Hopefully that helps. Did I answer your question?
It absolutely does answer my question. What I really hope everyone can walk away with today is a full spectrum understanding of the breadth and the services that are provided by CBRE. So what you see here are two different sides of one large business, and we haven't even scratched all of the services that is CBRE. But I have a personal question for both of you, starting with you, Tanya. Now, how did you get into commercial real estate?
Thanks for that, Ryan. So my background's in civil engineering, and I did start out first in public work and agency work. So working with first state agencies as a project manager, then city agencies, and through some public-private partnerships in development work that piqued my interest in what would an opportunity be that led me to, as I mentioned, Trammell Crow Company. And then at the time, through that acquisition of CBRE of Trammell Crow is how I landed in to the organization. But that in and of itself, like I said, has got me on this very interesting journey of what it meant. And you know, it's kept me open and flexible of being able to know that in the industry of commercial real estate, you can be and do anything. So with the background in engineering, and here I am now leading and running a significant P&L, of which the gross revenues on the account exceed $140 million. So it's a tremendous opportunity, and especially as we're here speaking to those pursuing their MBA, or whether you already have it, understanding what it means to manage and run a business is significant. So I would contend that you can be anything, right? So you can be a finance leader, you can be a HR leader, you can be an engineer, you can be a supply chain professional. You can be that all at a commercial real estate firm. And that my journey has been tremendous these nearly 22 years at CBRE. I want to speak to one of the questions that I see is in the chat, if you don't mind, especially as we've had to manage through a pandemic. When you have to keep facilities operational for clients, what I would contend, yes, has CBRE, the company, been impacted by having to work through that, but because it's been extremely important to have safe and operational facilities. And as I commented, we've got healthcare clients. We've got clients, like I said, such as, call a UPS, or whether it's Walmart, or whether it's the big box retailers, having to manage through that and supply things as, whether it's gloves or all of the PPE to ensure that our clients' facilities and the occupiers or our team members that are working in those facilities safe. For us, it's been tremendous that we've been able to keep ourselves running through the pandemic and allowed ourselves to maintain operational and business. So we've actually been able to, especially within the GWS part of our business, we've still had a chance to have some success, I would contend. So just to offer that, we would have never imagined what that would have meant. So starting out right in the Asia part of the world, right, that region being impacted, and then you seeing it move around. We weren't as impacted as I think some would have thought from the various sectors. So facility management has been a significant continued operation and sector through the pandemic, and it still remains such. And being able to be a consultant for many other sectors has been successful for facility management. So I didn't look at the other question, but I know
no, that was it. Thank you for answering Yvonne's question as well. So to you, Adam, how did you land in here? Tanya has a really interesting story that kind of went through Trammell Crow, but can you tell yours as well?
Yes, sir. And I know we're running short on time for this section, Ryan, so I'll try to keep it brief. Short answer is I got my job at Trammell Crow Company coming out of business school. I went to business school to make a career switch. I came out of Morehouse College in 1999, which dates me and makes me feel old, but that's reality.
You're not old, man. You're not.
But I started my career in public accounting. So I worked at Deloitte in Atlanta. It was an awesome way to start a career. I am not an accountant, but I didn't know that until I worked there for 4.5 years. So I went to business school to make a switch. When I was at business school, I met a bunch of Trammell Crow Company professionals who were awesome. It seemed like a really interesting thing to do. And, it may be another interesting thing to circle back on if we have time. I kind of networked my way into a job. So I went through a formal recruiting process. I did that first round interviews on campus, second round interviews, et cetera. But ultimately, the reason why I got my job is because I met some people in the DC office and I pestered them over and over and over, and then ended up being very lucky and very blessed to be in the right place at the right time and got a job in DC.
Well, I do appreciate you all sharing your stories today, and we're going to circle back with you all in just a bit. So if you have specific questions you'd like to know the answers to about GWS or the real estate investment side of the business, which includes Trammell Crow, please do so by typing those questions and your email addresses into the question and answer feature. And while you all are doing that, I would like to also introduce someone else. So MK, are you there?
I'm here.
Okay, so MK, go ahead and introduce yourself, and then she's going to give us a great presentation around what it takes to join our talent community. How do you get in where you fit in here at CBRE and with our CBRE companies? MK?
Perfect. Give me 2 seconds. I'm going to share my screen here. We're going to see how I do. Give me a moment.
No worries.
Apologies, I lost the menu, so give me 1 second. There it is back. Okie dokie, here we are. All right, hopefully you all can see my presentation now.
We can. Go ahead and put it in presentation mode for us, please.
I did, and it should be right there. Hold on just a second. Let me try one more time, and I apologize for the delay here. It is not going.
That's okay. I'll share what you have.
Okay, give me 1 second. And I don't understand why the controls are not working. So, okay, let me tell you a little bit about me while I figure this out for a second here, and apologies on the delay. My name is MK Bomi, clearly not a Zoom guru. So clearly that is the case right here. So hopefully by the time I get this going, maybe it will actually share and you all will see it on the screen. Do you all see it now?
We do.
Okay, perfect. So I actually joined CBRE about 4 years ago. My name is MK. I go by the pronouns she and her. And for my visual cues for you all, I've included a picture, but also I am a Caucasian 43-year-old female. Currently today, I have on bright red earrings and a blue shirt and a CBRE vest with brown hair and blue eyes. You're welcome. I specialize in several different types of recruiting and currently lead talent acquisition for one of our portions of the platform. So you noticed before Tanya Brandon is on enterprise, and I actually work on the small but mighty portion called GWS local. We're actually a fast growing sector that is perfectly positioned for the clients that don't fit our enterprise model, but are medium and smaller size companies that still need that occupier model of outsourced facilities management. So I am diversity focused in my role. I'm a professional coach on the side, And I've been recruiting now for 23 years. And by the way, Adam, that graduation date is very similar to mine. So you are not too far outside the scope of cool. So, and I actually was raised by two MBAs, which I always say is the reason why I am so uniquely wonderful, right? That's what it is. So I wanted to just take a moment to do a quick exercise with you all. Right now out in the market, there are a million jobs posted. There are a million candidates that are looking for roles. And as we're thinking about ways where you can get out there and make, be noticed, there's something that we have as a challenge right now. And what that is time. So recruiters have 6 seconds to review your information. And I wanted to just take a second to read something really quickly and let you all know just how quick it is. Here we are. I will start reading and I'm going to count on my fingers so you can see them. GWS Local is a tailored facility management solution at a local level with access to the global CBRE GWS platform. That was it. So in 6 seconds, you have to make your mark on your resume. That's your business card out to the world. Without that looking the way that it needs to look for the role that you're headed to, it is very, very slim that you may find your right way to the right job. So there's a few things that you can do to increase your chances. Adam gave you one of the tips before, and Tanya did as well. Networking is a huge component of looking for a role. When we are looking for candidates for opportunities, a lot of times we're wondering how interested is the candidate in the role too, right? And when we are in the market as a candidate, I've been there before too, we want to make sure that we are showing our engagement about the role as well. So a couple of things to look at when you're looking at the information that you're putting out to the world. A couple of things to start with is what you don't want to put down. So a lot of personal information, sometimes when we're looking at resumes diversely, they may be coming from other countries or parts of the globe. And there may be different standards there for what may be included. But I always say no one needs to know your blood type. So keep that in mind when you're sharing your personal information on your resume. Some things that may be helpful to include if and when a visa requirement is something that may be needed for a role globally, that's definitely okay to include if you've got citizenship elsewhere on a job where you're applying. But otherwise, keep it to what is important. The other thing is that a lot of times there's a lot of writing on a resume that doesn't actually say anything. And you've just wasted that space to be able to tell that hiring manager why you're the best candidate for the role. So you want to make sure that everything that's there has substance to it and that you're able to really communicate who you are. Secondarily, and I'll hold this out there, you do not want someone else to write your resume in a way in which that it's not your language. So making sure, even if you do use a resume service or a resume writer, you go back and make it your language. If there are a bunch of words on there that, let's say for an example, don't even make sense to you, if you're trying to then sit in an interview and validate to the manager that that's your, work history, those aren't going to drive. So make sure you've got truthful information on your resume as well. The number one thing that can kill a job for a long time is to falsify information on a resume. So you want to make sure you don't do that. No job is worth putting yourself in that position. The other thing that I think is probably the biggest, you don't know what to do, right? Is it a one pager? Do I have a full circumvite? How much information do I need to share? Make sure that if you are in your first, say for an example, 3 to 5 years, that you have a one pager that you're sending out to the world. And actually, it's good to have that for your whole career, to be able to say, this is what I accomplished. And then if somebody would like a more detailed, really granular viewpoint of your work history, you could have a longer document like a circumvite to be able to chronologically show all of your accomplishments. But for the purposes of hiring, we're really looking for a few key things. And those are what you need to have in every single work history on your resume. You need to make sure that you quantify who this company is. For an example, I'm going to just use one, Beachman Tools. I've never heard of them. I don't know who they are. A recruiter in that 6 seconds doesn't have time to go qualify and figure it out. So let people know that is a provider of manufacturing equipment, right? Or refinery tooling or whatever it is. They might be 6,000 people today. Note that. Also, who are they? $50 million family-owned business, right? Being able to quantify that information helps a hiring manager and a recruiter be able to kind of understand the role that you were doing in the, field that you were in at that time. You also want to make sure that you spend a significant amount of time in the first 2 bullet points of the job explaining what you did. This is the most important part of the resume. That is where our eyes go as a recruiter. We will drop down, we're looking at your title, we're looking at the company, and then we want to see quickly, what did you do? So what was important about your role? Why were you hired, by that company in the first place? And then what was the task that you achieved? Those metrics that you're going to note there make a world of difference as we're skimming through to whether or not your resume makes it to the next level. The other thing to consider, these are just my pet peeves. No street addresses, apartment numbers on your resume. Safety is of utmost importance. When you blast your resume out to the world, putting it on Indeed, etc., for $25 or $75 subscription fee, you just gave away your personal address. So please keep that in mind when you're thinking about what you're going to share on a resume as well. And make sure that when you're applying for jobs, the information that you put down actually relates to the job that you're applying to. So education requirement, if it's for a position that is master's level, make sure you note that you have a master's. If there is an objective statement that you're including on your resume, one of the things that I think is probably the funniest parts of recruiting is when we get somebody that's applying to an administrative assistant job, but what their statement says is they want to be a 4-star chef, right? Not even matching up at all. And so making sure that that information is correct is imperative to showing that your resume has validity. And on the cover letter question, yes. Does it get viewed always? No. Is it a nice extra effort? Yes. Is it a place where you can, to a hiring manager, or as your resume through that network is getting passed through, you can articulate your skill set and why it's important for you to be the candidate that they consider for the role? Absolutely. So just a few more things to think about as you're trying to stand out. You need to figure out a way in your own voice, right, to be able to concisely tell your story. When you're looking at building your resume, that also needs to be kind of your 3-minute elevator pitch, right? If you were going to tell somebody as you were meeting them or at a networking event, your resume should be able to effectively communicate that information as well. It's really important for making sure that all the special things about you stand out. Not everybody is you. No one else is exactly like you. And so being able to articulate that will help you be able to make it to the top of the stack, the front of the line, as far as interviews go. Be really, really careful in the information that you're submitting. Make sure if you're applying, for an example, for a copy editing job, which I would never do. So make sure your spelling is perfect. The correct words are highlighted, as they should be, and capitalized, etc. So really take the care to show off your skills there. And most importantly, figure out where you can network. If you are talking about a role in development, as Adam was talking about before, join those associations, real estate developers. If there is an opportunity for facilities management, look at IFMA or some of the other organizations where you can find CBRE people if this is the company that you're targeting and the role that you're looking for, but also other companies as well. Give me 2 seconds here. So we actually have a few roles that we are recruiting for right now, which are you would be uniquely positioned for with your MBA. One of the roles, and of course I'll start with mine first, but just to get it out of the way. So we actually hire something called a capacity manager on GWS Local. As I mentioned before, fast growing sector, medium and small sized clients on the GWS platform. And the capacity manager role is a learning role. It's actually something that comes out of our GWS MBA summer intern program. And it's one of the roles that once you had been an intern that you could go into for an 18-month stint to learn the business, etc. So that particular role, we have one right now in our Southwest business unit. Locations for it could be Colorado or anywhere in kind of the Southwest US. We also have roles that are for more tenured folks out in as far as career is concerned. And our mergers and acquisitions, we had talked about before just the rapid growth that CBRE has had. Actually, pretty much all of our growth comes through inorganically through these acquisitions that we have. And there is a particular portion of our business that's called the Strategic Programs Office, the SPO, who takes care of managing these integrations as they're coming through. And that's everything from the technology piece to the people piece, et cetera, and connecting it all the way through as we acquire businesses. That particular role is, I think, excuse me, very unique because it is across several business lines sometimes too, as we're bringing companies in. So the other thing that we have is our GWS MBA intern program. And that is, I want to say highly coveted. I don't know if it's that at all, but it's a unique opportunity for us to be able to partner with students who are coming out of graduate programs and be able to utilize. Number one, you get to look at CBRE over a summer or a winter term, depending on when you do your internship. And then from there, there's also the unique opportunity to be offered a position. As I mentioned, there's rotation programs that come after that, depending on where you're headed and which business line that you would be with. But that is a unique opportunity that we have here at CBRE. And applications for these roles, the top three, those are happening right now for selection in January. So do definitely consider getting your resume in for those if you are at the right time to consider. In our advisory business, which we had mentioned before, there's GWS, which is the Global Workplace Solutions Platform. And we also have our advisory business, which is generally speaking, our brokerage, property management is there, debt and restructured finance, et cetera, we'll say, right? Valuations business. And there's a position in this particular line of business currently that is called an advisory analyst. It's a good entry-level position, but it would be at a graduate level as well. And that is primarily for business-focused analytics on the lines of business within the advisory piece. So something to consider as you're looking, that would actually give you a good look on the inside, so to speak, the skeleton behind that line of business, and a little bit more information regarding each part of the LOB. So this next title, which is called the Senior Client Strategy Consultant Analyst, and these titles that I'm giving you are ones you should be looking for on the website. This title is used across advisory. It also is used on GWS on account, and it is a specific role that happens within the strategy piece of what we do in commercial real estate services. And it can also be a piece that we use within our transaction management business. So that is doing a strategic viewpoint of the portfolio of the client, also looking at space planning, scheduling, et cetera, that happens within the actual business and the space that they're in, looking at labor levels, et cetera. So a really neat opportunity in that particular role. There's also some different positions that occur within the lines of business for the particular lines of business. And this one, the Senior Operations Analyst, is part of the line of business team for property management's LMA there in the Columbus, Ohio area. For that particular office, they're looking for a Senior Operations Analyst to join the team. So those are a few of the opportunities that we have currently that would be something to consider. Do use this QR code and sign up in our talent community, and
Yes.
also sign up for the positions online.
I was just about to say, don't forget the QR code. So
I
thank
know.
you so much. Yeah, please
You're
use
welcome.
that. And we will also send these presentation out as well, so you all can have access to those jobs. And there are many jobs. I think there's some thousands of jobs that are actually open right now at CBRE. So MK, thank you. If you
You're
check
welcome.
the chat real quick, and once you stop sharing, there are some questions specifically for you in there. And while you're doing that and answering those questions, I wanted to introduce to you our next panel, which is Jojo, Carlton, and Pasquale. If you all could come off mute, I'd love to hear from you. Now, when you give your first question or answers to my first question, could you please reintroduce yourselves as well? So the first question is, since you all are younger in your career, earlier in your career, why did you consider a career in commercial real estate? We'll start with Jojo, then Carlton, then Pasquale.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. I am honored to be on this panel and to express how I fit into CBRE and hopefully how you guys can too. So my name is Jojo Lewis. I am originally from Brooklyn, New York. I went to CBRE as an intern, as a diversity scholar intern. Right after grad school, I went to Duke University, the Fuqua School of Business, and I interned in the DC office for 3 months, transitioned into research, and lastly transitioned to the New York office as a transaction specialist. So the question is, why do I consider a career in commercial real estate? My history with the real estate comes from the residential side. My family owned a couple brownstones in Brooklyn, New York, and I grew up helping my mother rent them out as Airbnb and vacation rentals. And I went to grad school to hopefully learn how to manage businesses because my mother is a huge entrepreneur. And she did that off the merit of street smarts, and I wanted to bring some orthodox business sense to the family. When I understood the difference between residential and commercial real estate, there are a lot of similarities, but I like the entrepreneurial spirit of the business on the transaction side, coupled with the structure and a little bit more security of the bureaucracy behind commercial real estate. So that really sparked my interest. And really, I'm interested in how I could be a part of the landscape of the market I'm in. Really changing the dynamic of your neighborhood interests me. And that's what really got me into the commercial space as opposed to residential.
Thank you, Jojo. Carlton, how about you?
Hey guys, my name is Carlton Orange. I am from Memphis, Tennessee. I went to Texas A&M, ran track, and now I'm starting, I think it's my 3rd month now in December, being at CBRE. I'm relatively new. My interest sparked with CBRE in commercial real estate as a whole because it's really an untapped market for individuals of color. I've seen that all growing up. My dad was a real estate attorney, and I've just been in the office with him because he has his own practice in Memphis, Tennessee. I just saw that there weren't many people that looked like us doing the things that we were doing. And furthermore, my interest also sparked during the 08-09 crisis when I saw home values go down and basically the real estate market crash. And I wanted to know why it crashed versus, why it was doing so well. And so that sparked my interest to study finance and get my bachelor's in finance. And with COVID and also, with COVID, I had an extra year at college to run track. So I decided to pursue my master's in real estate. And the Mays Business School is really good. I think they're number 2 globally in the real estate program. And there was just a lot of potential, a lot of opportunities that I saw that could be met by people like me. And that really exalted me to become a retail broker, which is what I am now. And now I'm trying to bring people like me into San Antonio. I forgot to mention I'm in the San Antonio office, trying to bring people like me to do the things that I'm doing as well.
Well, thank you very much. I'm really glad you're here also. Pasquale, how about you?
Hey, how's it going, everybody? And thank you for your time and for having us. Well, for me, my career with CBRE actually started my sophomore year in college. I had the great opportunity to intern for a GWS account, BNY Mellon in New York. And I really thoroughly liked what I was able to do and the experiences and the people that I was exposed to. And I came back for a second year. And thereafter, I mean, it's been great. I accepted a full offer right out of college, actually before before finishing my second internship. And I started working with the Discovery Communication account in the project management side of the business, developing their new headquarters and helping them and facilitating their real estate needs. And maybe about 8 months ago, I transitioned into a new role with City LATAM, which is exactly where I wanted to be, serving the Latin American market. And I guess, why I got into the commercial real estate industry, it's actually really funny. I've always said I'm going to stay as far away from the banking sector as possible, given my parents were both in the banking sector. And, very much like Jojo said, in college, I went to Lafayette College, right around in the city of Easton, Pennsylvania. And my sophomore year, actually my sophomore year, I didn't know exactly where I wanted to focus my career. I studied economics and finance, but I had the opportunity to meet a professor who was working in development of Easton, and through a couple of 3P projects, and also understanding how Easton could best develop to serve the underrepresented community. I was able to gain a passion for real estate and see how real estate can really mark a difference and help people create generational wealth and not just wealth, but stability, right? When I think about real estate and I think about creating stability in the places and the cities that we operate. And I think that there's a big responsibility there. And I think having people that look like us ensures that that's being that matters at the forefront when we think about developing or when we think about employing people in the facility management and the project management sector.
Well, thank you very much for that. And I just wanted to address a couple of things. One, we have all kinds of roles. If you imagine, we're a company of over 100,000 employees worldwide, and we have roles for people who are just starting out. We pulled a couple of roles, but if you go to our career site, you'll see there's a lot of different roles for people who are mid-career and senior career professionals as well. And there's a place for each of you, I'm sure, here at CBRE. We only could pull just a few jobs to highlight and spotlight. And I know there's some questions that were coming in asking about additional opportunities as well. But I also wanted you to know that I want you to think about commercial real estate as having a full service life cycle. So there's the investment side, there's the development side, then there's the brokerage side, there's leasing, and then there's management, and all of which we've talked about a little bit. But I would like each of the three of you, and if you could, in just 45 seconds or less, tell us where your job fits in this life cycle of commercial real estate. So I'll start with you, Jojo, then we'll go Carlton and Pasquale.
Yeah, so I like to use a little analogy that most people know what brokers do. And I'm on the transactions side of the business, but I'm not necessarily a broker. Brokers will catch a fish and transaction management will fillet the fish, right? Brokers aren't, so I don't know if that makes sense, but I think it makes sense. So once the deal is secure and paperwork is signed, transaction managers will, or actually once the deal is like pitched, right? Transaction managers will help push it through. And my particular job, I work on an account called WPP, which is the largest conglomerate of marketing and PR firms globally. And my team manages that account in their North American office space portfolio. So for all of the office space, we help manage dispositions, acquisitions, and help them strategize to co-locate a lot of their spaces and shrink their footprint in the different markets they are in. So the brokers got the deal, got the account, and we're making sure that it's managed in the right way to keep the business and help them pursue their own business strategies.
We do help our clients reach their goals as well. So thank you very much for that wonderful analogy. Carlton, she mentioned brokerage, so here you go.
Yeah, for sure. She had a great analogy. So she said she'd be filleting the fish. I'm definitely catching the fish. I'm a retail broker here in San Antonio. So I go out and source deals and basically look at shopping centers, grocery anchored centers, or malls or standalone centers. And I say, what do I think is going to be a good tenant in these buildings? And I go find those tenants and put them in those places. I've been working here for 3 months. Some deals are coming down the pipeline. So I've started to branch out into other areas. Now I'm working with Scott Herbold's team. You don't know who Scott is, but he's a broker as well. He does medical office sales here in San Antonio in the greater Texas area. I also do land entitlements where I develop land and get it ready for sale. But I'd say I mainly do retail brokerage just because I think it's the most fun and it's the most rewarding to me. So, snapshot, I'm basically sourcing deals, getting people to sign LOIs, getting people to sign leases, and handing it off to people like Jojo.
Thank you very much. And then to close the loop, Pasquale.
So where we come in project management, I would like to say we cook the fish, but that's not a great follow to the analogy. But anyways, we're taking up a lot of the clients that Carlton and Jojo are dealing with, and we're ensuring that the real estate needs are being met in terms of their space, right? So think about it as if, a client of ours, let's say Apple buys a piece of land or a building, and they say, look, this land needs to meet our needs. We need to host a certain amount of people. We need to have, a certain amount of seats per head count. How can we do this? And my job is to ensure and coordinate with developers on the side like Adam, and part of their business as well. If there's any, let's say, security needs, in my case, in the banking sector is a lot of that. We really make these projects happen for them, right? So we utilize and we make sure that the real estate is developed in the way that they need to use it. And oftentimes we're also seeking new land or new development or new buildings for our clients. So as much as I'm hearing from clients and new clients from Jojo and Carlton, let's say, I'm also getting back to them saying, hey, I have this client that has this need. What can you do for me to find me something? You guys are the right people to do it. So I'm right in the middle of the business.
Thank you very much. I want to open this last question up to all of our panelists. So Adam, Tanya, please come off mute as well. And you have to commit. This is a 20-second question, okay? So what is the one thing you wish you knew about commercial real estate coming in that you know now? We'll start with you, Adam. One thing.
20 seconds, man. Okay, the one thing I wish I knew about commercial real estate that I know now is the importance of sustainability and how critical it is to everything that we do. And if you don't have that in the front of your mind when you start real estate projects, you're never going to figure it out. And you can't start soon enough.
Thank you very much. Tanya, one thing, quickly, 20 seconds.
Yeah, that it has such a diverse offering of opportunity. And as you've heard all the colleagues share, that it is an integrated sector to be in. So if I'd known that, I think I was a one-track minded professional when I came in, but it's a diverse sector to be in, and you've got a chance to really collaborate and make a difference.
Thank you. All right, Jojo, one thing.
One thing I think is to embrace the flexibility of what your career will look like. Because of the nature of this business, you have to get in where you fit in, and then you can prove yourself through the nature of work you're currently doing so that you could propel yourself to the position you want to be in. So being flexible and not taking things personally.
That is wisdom right there. Pasquale.
Boy, I'm still thinking. I would like to say that I think one thing I learned about real estate is that in my case, efficiency is everything. Oftentimes we get stuck trying to do things just probably to do them. And oftentimes when we sit back and take a little longer to think about the way that our business is growing and how our client needs are changing by the minute, we can have a clearer path as to how can we offer a different service to our client to make sure they're at the forefront of development and to make sure that people are happy when they finally get into their office.
Thank you. Carlton, how about you?
Yeah, so the main thing I learned in these 3 months is the importance of patience. A lot of my job is not really delegated to me. It's more getting people together, and people are always on their own time. And if you push, you might lose a deal just being too needy. So I would say the importance of patience and the importance of just whatever you can't control is really not in your control. You shouldn't really worry about it, but you should be able to adapt. So those are the 2 things that I've learned these past 3 months and I'm still working on, and hopefully I can continue to get better at.
Well, I want to thank you all, MK, Adam, Tanya, Jojo, Carlton, Pasquale. Thank you. Audience, we have captured your questions. We have your questions. You can always shoot us emails. My email address is ryan.mitchell@cbre.com. Feel free to reach out. I'd love to hear from you and you can connect with us. I'm going to turn the presentation back over to Paula, and thank you all again for the introduction.
Listen, thank you, CBRE, for an incredible and insightful session. This was amazing. So I hope all of you all who are listening take advantage and reach out and connect where appropriate. Thank you again for joining us this evening for this session. I am sure that you learned a lot, and we encourage you to complete the link for a survey that you will see in the chat because your feedback is important to us. So to give you a little bit of an incentive, the first 25 people to complete the survey will be entered in a chance to win an Amazon gift card. So do not delay. Again, thank you again, Team CBRE, and thank you all for joining us. We hope you have a wonderful rest of your evening. Be well.
Bye.
Hey, everybody.